Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Aviles. I am the Senior Program Manager at TheDream.Us for Partner College and Scholar Supports. I want to welcome you all for joining us today. This is our second session of the Summer 2024 Career Series. So welcome. Today we have an awesome session with some of our Dream.Us alum who are also entrepreneurs at this moment. And we'll be talking to you a little bit about their journey. So we are super excited for you to hear from them. Before I jump into the panelists, and I want to make sure that we're doing a little bit of housekeeping. So we want to know who's in the room. Please feel free to put your names in the chat, introduce yourself, let us know where you're coming from. In addition to the chat, we do have a Q&A component. So for your questions, we will ask you to separate any sort of like statements or introductions that you're making, that those go into the chat, and actual questions for the panelists go in the Q&A box, so that way we're making sure to filter the two, and we can make sure to get to your questions effectively when we get to the Q&A session at the end of this event. In addition to that, I also want to make sure that you, a little bit of a disclaimer, all of the information shared for today is for educational purposes only and should not be considered legal, business, or tax advice. So just, again, a disclaimer for that. We will continue to have the Career Summer Series. We have our third session coming up tomorrow on how to start your own business. And then we will be continuing next week with a few more sessions. So please make sure that you're staying tuned for all of those sessions as they are being laid out. With all of that being said, I would love to start to introduce our panelists for this session, who are, again, Dream.Us alum, and who are not only entrepreneurs, but we're actually part of I Am an Immigrant Entrepreneur series. So with that, why don't we start by introducing our panelists? So Alexandra, if you could start, introduce yourself, talk a little bit about yourself and your business.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining tonight. My name is Alexandra Portillo, and I am originally from Mexico City. I was brought here when I was 8 years old, and ever since I've been living in Brooklyn, New York. So really love New York over here, hard-die New Yorker over here. But a little bit about my story has been because of my mom. My mom is the one that inspired me, and she brought me here to obtain a better education. So that always stayed with me. And that really is the reason that led me to education. So I was an early childhood educator for many years until eventually I pivoted to work with teachers. So I started working with those teaching the children, and that really opened my eyes to kind of see different opportunities. And in 2022, that's when I started Everlearn Education. And really what we're doing is we're supporting those early childhood educators through professional courses and coaching. So we're doing a little bit of both. And a lot of them are really eager to continue their career development. They just needed access to more resources. So we're doing this in English and Spanish. And a lot of our clients happen to be minority women of color, a lot of Latinas, a lot of people of color in general. And we're doing this really because we know that if they get a better quality of education and more support during their career path, they're going to bring it to the children, and it's going to help their families and overall communities. So that's me, everybody.
Thank you so much, Alexandra. Claudia, why don't you introduce yourself next?
Hi, I'm Claudia. I'm 31 years old. I am originally from Mexico as well, from the state of Guerrero. I came over with my parents when I was about 1 year old, a little under 1 year old. So I've been living in Florida my whole life. Been here 30 years now. I attended Florida International University. I majored in public administration, minored in social media, and now I'm the owner and founder of Sierra Madre Tortilla Company. We're an artisan corn tortilla bakery. So what we do is we have a retail location in Palm Beach County, if you're familiar with South Florida. We also have a takeout restaurant, and we also do distribution to other restaurants, hospitality businesses like hotels and country clubs. And then we recently just started selling to local grocery retailers. So we really focus on providing healthy, organic, non-processed tortillas. If you're from Mexico or Central America, you're probably familiar with corn tortillas. Some of you may remember them when you were still living in, where you were born. And so it was something that was really missing here in Florida. The way that we make tortillas, we really put a lot of love into it, kind of like your grandmother would make tortillas for you. So that's something that I wanted to provide to my son, because it didn't exist. There was no healthy corn tortillas on the market where I'm at. So if you're in California, Chicago, New York, Texas, I'm sure you get them all the time, but South Florida was really lacking that. And we really wanted to bring that out to the community here and just be health conscious about it. So this is a little idea that started with me just trying to provide better food for my son, who's now going to be 7, when he was a little baby, just sprouted into a whole business. I like to say that the tortilla business chose me. I didn't choose the tortilla business because I am a 3rd-generation tortilla maker. My grandfather had a tortilla factory in Mexico. He taught my parents. They both worked there when they were dating and eventually got married. And then I learned everything from them. So I'm excited to be here and answer any questions that you guys may have.
Thank you so much, Claudia. Karen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Karen Savillon. I also live in Florida, and I am a freelance copywriter and editor. I attended the University of Central Florida, and I graduated in 2020, actually right when the pandemic started. I've been copywriting since then. I actually started freelancing because I graduated during the pandemic. It was kind of a tough time to work and find a job like in person, so I just started doing my own thing from home remotely. So I've been doing it for about 4 years now. One of the most exciting things I've gotten to do as a copywriter is work for a U.S. Senate campaign here in Florida. I worked for Congresswoman Val Demings in 2022 when she was running for senator. It was really, really great to be able to use my story as a dreamer and just be a voice to Latin Americans here in Florida and undocumented folks, and use my story for digital platforms and social media as a copywriter and content strategist. And I've been able to work for some pretty cool companies such as Live Nation, which is affiliated with Ticketmaster. And I've also worked for Publix. It's a very big retailer here in the Southeast. And I'm from Honduras. I was born in San Pedro Sula, Honduras, and I moved here when I was 5 years old.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that rundown, Karen. And we are also joined by our final panelist today. Brian, could you please just introduce yourself, give us your name, a little bit about your story of where and who you're from, and of course, the business that you currently are a part of.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you everyone for your patience. Can everyone hear me? Or you guys hear me? Perfect. Thank you all so much for this opportunity. I want to thank TheDream.Us. As Chris mentioned, my name is Brian Ortega. I'm originally from Mexico. I came here when I was 2 years old. My parents brought me and my brothers here, or my brother. And growing up in Chicago, we were raised, and Chicago was all we knew. Chicago is our home, and for the longest time, just navigated the education system like many of you, and didn't know about my undocumented status until high school, until realizing the importance of applying for FAFSA, applying for all these different grants and scholarships. And that's when it dawned on me that I didn't have a plan. I didn't know what was next after school, after education. And so I was faced with one of two options: either give up and just say that this is what it is and accept the fact, or do something about it. And so I did a lot of odd jobs. I was dishwashing, I was doing cleaning, I was doing landscaping. And it wasn't until I came across my friend who is a DJ. He's been a long time DJ in Chicago. In our church, he saw me performing and doing several events and showcases, and he told me, "Hey, you're really good on the mic. Would you like to MC with me for weddings?" And I'm just like, "Sure, yeah, absolutely." So I thought I was just gonna help him. He's like, "Hey, I'll pay you for it." I'm like, "Even better." And so for me, I started off as an MC on the microphone, and doing gigs with him. This was right after high school that I was venturing into the field of music, and I saw from him basically the work that it entails doing corporate events, private events, and it dawned on me that this was something that was fun and something that you could get paid to do. And so he loaned me his equipment. I started doing house parties for the free, and then I'm sure we'll get into it. But shortly thereafter, I officially launched my DJ business, and I'm actually DJing an event for my actual full-time job currently, which I'll share a little bit more about. But super exciting, and super excited to be here and to share my story.
Gracias, Brian. That's amazing. Thank you all. You guys are all like rock stars and amazing. Let's get into these questions because I know our scholars are eager to hear from you. So setting up the question just a little bit, right? Entrepreneurship can be a very scary or daunting word, but we know that our scholars are sometimes already engaging in entrepreneurship activities and may not even realize. In your own words, how would you describe entrepreneurship in one sentence? And in addition to that, other than having your formal business, please give one or two personal examples of times when you were an entrepreneur at a young age. So babysitting, or maybe a little side business you did as a kid, like what was going on? Why don't we start off with Alexandra?
Awesome. So, one sentence for entrepreneurship, that's hard, but I'm going to try. I think for me, based on my experience, it's about being willing to take risks, because it is a big risk that you're taking with your time, with your money, right? Whatever it is. And it's also, for me, it has been breaking away from the traditional career path that, we're kind of brought up and taught, like, this is the way you have to do it. So kind of diverting from that and really turning your ideas or your passions into something, a business venture that's going to be profitable. That's the goal. And the last one is just driven by like your vision, your innovation, and like your determination to make it happen. And thinking, Chris, of some of the early things that I used to do. My first ever business was when I was a little girl. I think I was third grade. I was selling these little bags with marbles and gum. And, that was a good business until I got busted by the teacher. And, I went out of business really, really quick. And the other one was when I was a teenager, I was definitely buying concert tickets pre-sale and then kind of selling them a few weeks before the event. That was successful. So little examples there.
Awesome. Now I know who to contact when I need Bad Bunny tickets. All right, I got you. Claudia, why don't you give us your thoughts?
So for me, entrepreneurship is just doing what makes you happy, self-fulfillment, being able to contribute to society, like making a positive impact, but also having the freedom to be creative, to create your own schedule, to be able to innovate, and just not having someone to kind of tell you how to do things. So you just have the ability to just provide these ideas and put them out into the world. I was just going to go with like, you have to be a risk taker, but I think as dreamers, we've kind of learned how to go through so many hurdles, and we go through like growing up not being able to get a driver's license or have a job, so you kind of have to create your own opportunities. And so I'm so thankful for my parents for bringing me to this country, because they've been a great example of entrepreneurs. Even though they weren't officially saying like I'm a business owner, they kind of had to create their own businesses. And so my father with construction and my mom with her cleaning business. So those are some examples that I just grew up with my parents, seeing them do it. But I think that my earliest entrepreneurial venture would be around middle school. when I decided that I would sell chocolate bars. And so I remember going to Costco with my parents when I was really little and just like right there, just pitching to them like, hey, can you buy this box of chocolates for me? If I sell this many for this amount of money, I'll make this much. And the next box, I'll be able to sell it myself. Again, it didn't last long, just like Alex, because I got in trouble. And then again, when I graduated high school, not being able to get a job and just looking for ways for me to make money, you kind of get so desperate trying to figure out what can I do to actually have a job. So you kind of go down this rabbit hole of Google, like how can I work in this country? If I don't have a social security number. So I have assisted in a lot of small business startups. And so I was able to learn through many experiences how to start a business and like all the intricacies of starting an LLC or a corporation here in South Florida. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Karen.
Yeah, I would say entrepreneurship, you're really being a trailblazer. You're really opening a path for yourself and maybe for your family and your generations to come to really step outside of the box and do something different. I would say also it gives you financial freedom, and it also gives you the freedom and the flexibility that you need with your time. Maybe you need to take care of a loved one. I personally, my grandma's 94. She lives with me, and I'm able to care for her because I am a freelancer and I'm not necessarily working a 9 to 5. So I would say it really gives you the time to really care for those you love, and yeah, financial freedom is always great. I also think it's great because it allows you to connect with different companies and just network. That's what I've experienced as a freelancer. And when I was young, I actually do remember writing essays for like my cousins and just a family friend, and they would pay me to write their essays or just edit their essays. So it was really cool to, have that little side hustle as a fifth grader and so forth.
Amazing. Brian.
Yes to all of that, all of the above. I would also say that entrepreneurship to me means betting on yourself. It means believing in yourself. And in addition to pursuing freedom and getting the profit, you're also sharing an experience that you find satisfying with others, right? Because becoming an entrepreneur, you're not going to go into something that you dislike, something that you're going to feel miserable doing day in and day out. It's an experience that you're hoping to share. So whether that's selling candles or making cups or t-shirts, DJing, it's something that you like, and it's an opportunity for you to be able to go to others and find other people that share that similar like and interest and connect with you, right? So it all kind of comes together within that. Listening to these incredible stories, you all had me think about experiences and opportunities that I had being younger in entrepreneurship. I recall living with my grandma because when we first moved here, we lived with grandma. We lived in the basement, and I decided to sell lemonade. I'm like, hey, this is a cool thing. I see it on TV shows and different things like that. Let me try selling lemonade. That memory came to mind. Being in middle school, I remember I had a close friend of mine, and when we were looking to make a buck, because for us it was always basketball and pizza. Like that was our biggest thing. We loved playing basketball. We loved eating afterwards, and so we're like, man, we don't have money. Let's go, mow some lawns. Let's go do some snow removal. So those were things that we ventured into in exchange to get what we wanted, right? And the last thing that I thought about when you mentioned the selling of the candy, I remember senior year when I was starting to plan, where I'm like, okay, I need to buy books, I need to pay for my tuition. One of the things that I did was sell candies. So buy those big boxes at Costco and go around. I remember I would have in my book bag and I'd be like, yo, I got that Kit Kat bar, I got that Snickers here, and selling that. And then just same thing, I would make a profit, buy another box of candy, and then I would put $20 to the side, and then right, like just kind of starting putting away for the piggy bank. So it really is just looking for something that you're capable of doing, and taking it from there and just multiplying.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that clear walk down memory lane for everyone. It's so amazing to hear how intuitive and how people take on those types of initiatives. So it's amazing to hear all of that. Next question is, why did you decide to start your own business or go into freelancing work? And again, just to keep the same flow, why don't we start with Alexandra?
Well, for me, it was kind of like almost a natural trajectory or a stepping stone, because I started actually doing independent contractor work for the thing that I was doing. So I was always being hired by nonprofits who would hire me to do courses and coaching for the early childhood educators. And I was doing that. The income was very steady. It was what I loved. I loved working with educators and teaching about child development. So it worked. But I always thought, in the back of my mind, how can I turn this into a business? Because I genuinely like it and the numbers are good. So how can I pivot? So it was a moment of awakening for me when one of the nonprofits reached out to me and they were like, hey, we have this 6-month contract and, are you willing to take it? And I had already been considering starting the business, but to me, that was like, hey, this is it. If you were going to jump the gun, Alex, this is it. So I think that was what really pushed me. And I remember answering the director and telling her, sure, I would love to take on this role and this contract, do all the services, but just give me a few weeks because I'm in the middle of like filing for my LLC. That wasn't true, but you better believe the next day I started filing for the LLC because I was like, whoops, this is it. I have to keep pushing forward. So that was definitely a moment of awakening. Like, you already have the clients, just go for it. Yeah.
Claudia.
So for me, it took me a while to go to college because of all the laws. I got DACA right after, I was much older, like 19 or 20. There was no in-state tuition in Florida. So it took me a while to finish college. I ended up graduating. I was like 25 or 26 when I finished my bachelor's degree. So I was able to get a work permit through DACA. And so life happens. I started a corporate job. I moved up and I got married. I had a son. It got very challenging to finish my bachelor's degree, and that was really important to me to do. So I had to I quit my job so I could focus on school full time and be a full-time caretaker to my son. Motherhood is was very fulfilling for me. It still is, but I really just always wanted to own something for myself. So when I graduated from FIU during COVID, I also graduated in 2020, like right in the middle of COVID. I wasn't even able to walk, which was very sad for me. I don't have that after waiting for so long. But it was really challenging to find a job. I was really excited with my major. There was so many different career opportunities with the government, which I really wanted to do. But because of my status, you usually have to be a citizen to be able to work for the federal government. So I started looking for other jobs, going back into the corporate career that I had previously. It's hard to to explain the gap, like why did you take 2 years off? And for many reasons, I had been applying, I couldn't get a job. I started doing the tortillas from home for my son. My husband had his own business at the time, and we had to shut down during COVID, so it was a really difficult time financially. And so we had this conversation where we really sat down and he was like, I think I have to shut down my business. And I said, what are we going to do? I had already been going to the grocery store. Like, I couldn't find organic tortillas. And for me, it was really important because I wanted my son to connect to our food and to my culture. And it was just this thing that was just so annoying in my head that I would go to Publix, which Karen mentioned Publix here in the South. I'd go to Publix, I couldn't find tortillas. I'd go to Walmart, I couldn't find organic tortillas. I'm like, why hasn't anyone made organic tortillas? So it was just something that I started researching. I had the time, and I told my husband, he's like, if you have an idea for a business, because he's been an entrepreneur, once you kind of start the journey, it's kind of hard to go back. He was like, if you have an idea, bring it. And so I was like, I do have an idea. As a matter of fact, I have a whole business plan that I kind of had just started writing up. I think it's great. There's a need for it. And so, yeah, that's kind of, I think I went off on a tangent, but, but yeah, it was just the need. And just, I saw an idea for a business and I kind of went from there little by little.
Thank you, Claudia. Aaron.
Yeah, so similar to Claudia, I also graduated during the pandemic, May 2020. So I also didn't have a graduation, and it was also a very tough time to, find jobs because we were like peak pandemic. So I basically just, I had to do something. I basically used because the frustration that it comes with graduating and not being able to find a job, and I kind of used that to fuel me and just like really get things started. But also, like Brian said, he said that it's very important that when you're doing something, when you become an entrepreneur or freelancer, you do what you're passionate about. I've always been passionate about writing. And because I went to school for advertising and public relations, copywriting is one of the many things that you can do in that field of advertising or marketing. So I was like, well, this is my perfect match. This is what I'm passionate for. This is what I'm able to excel and be great at. And also, just like as a former DACA recipient, someone who grew up undocumented, I was really able to take my story and use it as copywriting and put it to work like in digital media. So I really encourage everyone to really find passion, just because of like your story. Like there's a lot to unfold and a lot of creativity that you have within you. Like your story can fuel that. So that's really what fueled me and inspired me to become a freelancer.
Thank you. Brian, go ahead.
Yeah. So for me, it was because I had to. I had to figure a way. I had to make ends meet. Saving up for school. I had my own bills to pay. I had to help mom and dad at home, and I never in a million years pictured myself being a DJ. Like that wasn't on the plan. That wasn't something that I was looking to do. But it's a job that I found satisfaction in. It's a job that I found fun. It's a job that allows you to party with people. So I'm like, hey, this is pretty cool. And additionally, for me, similar to my colleagues who are on the call, um, I I finished my associates, and during that time, I also had DACA, right? So I was already a DJ and an MC. I got DACA, and I knew that you needed health insurance. You needed to start saving and really something tangible that was sustainable to help out my parents. So I didn't let that go. I didn't let the DJing aspect go because I've always been fascinated with successful individuals and millionaires, and I still envision myself and strive for that in the long term. And one of the things that I came across is that I learned that there's multiple streams of income that people who are wealthy and financially successful have. And so I said, great, let's keep the DJing on the side to kind of help me, to pursue that. And along the way, I picked up different trades and different certifications to help me. But the DJing has definitely been something that I've grown over the years. And so I started working full time. I got my associates, and that's when I heard about the TheDream.Us. Like an answered prayer, I qualified for it, and that's when I started going to school. However, along the way, with my then girlfriend, now wife, and I, we were pregnant. So here I am juggling multiple responsibilities. Right. So I'm DJing. I'm going to school full time. I'm working full time. I'm doing wearing all these different hats. And I persevered. Right. I went through different challenges, but I learned the importance of mental health. I learned the importance of learning how to say no. And I graduated similarly in 2020 at the peak of the pandemic. So all this to say is that even though I was fortunate to have a job because I had a full-time job, even at the peak of the pandemic, there were still additional bills that I had to pay because my parents weren't working at that time, right? So DJing actually came in handy to help out my parents and for me to still be able to provide for my family. So I was doing those COVID parties. I don't know if you guys remember hearing about those, but maybe it was illegal at the time. But yeah, I would do like underground parties during that time, and a lot of the events and weddings that I had before COVID, all of that fell trickled over into once everything was more controlled. So all this to say is that I did it out of necessity, but I continue to do it because it is a tool that allows me to provide for my family and to be able to save up and do other things that I wouldn't be able to do with just a full-time job.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brian. So I'm going to give this last question for all four of you, and then just in the interest of time, because we do want to get to some of the scholar questions as well. The next couple of questions, I'm gonna sort of just do a little bit of pick and choose if that's okay with everybody. But for this next question, everyone can answer. When you first decided to launch your business, what were some of the first steps you took?
So I'll go. For me was research on how to file in my state in New York. So a lot of you who live in New York, you know, things are a little bit more complicated because that's how New Yorkers do it, right? So just figuring out how to file, the different things that you needed, the requirements, and also the different ways that you could do it as far as how fast you can do it and how much money, right? So I started researching and I realized that you could do it by yourself, but it was going to take longer, but more affordable, right? You could do it with a lawyer, but that was going to be a little bit more money. And it was still going to be a good, decent amount of time. The route that I went with a specific company who files for your LLC. It's pretty quick, but of course you had to pay a fee. So that's the route that I went. And then the other thing that I mentioned, and some of my colleagues have mentioned, is a business plan. That was really, really helpful to lay out my thoughts, the mission, the vision, and a roadmap, right? That was the document that until this day, it still drives whatever that we're doing, but it also helps you think of things that you might have not thought of, right? So a market analysis, maybe how to just do the marketing, the little things that you need, like the logistics and other things that we're definitely not thinking about very early on, but it's helpful to kind of put it together. And the other really important thing for me was a budget, because I was definitely tapping into my savings and I had to be comfortable with whatever I wanted to invest, whatever I was willing to put for the business, and potentially willing to even lose, right? Because there's always that risk. So that was some of the first steps that I took to move on forward.
Like Alex mentioned,
Go ahead, Kali. I'm sorry.
so just like Alex mentioned, I think for me, most importantly, I had an idea for a business, but I didn't, for a product, I didn't know how to make the product. Even though I did mention that I'm a third generation tortilla maker, I didn't know how to do this. And it wasn't even a topic of conversation in our household. So I did start a business plan. I researched the market. I wanted to make sure what the competition was, if this was a product that already existed, how I would do my marketing, and then just the different consumers that we'd have. And so once I felt comfortable with that, the second step was to figure out how to make the product. It didn't take much to figure it out. I think it's a lost art, learning how to make tortillas the traditional way with corn. It's something that most grandmas know how to do, not something my mom taught me. So it's pretty funny because I went up to my mom and I told her, "Hey mom, I have this great idea for a business. This is how you make tortillas." And this is when the whole conversation of your grandfather did this. And I see someone asked, like how you get past like your family not supporting you. Funny enough, my parents knew all the work that it took to actually make this product. And my mother has always been 100% always behind every single crazy idea I have. She said, "That's a fantastic idea. When I came to this country, I would have loved to do it. I just didn't speak the language." Because that's who we were in Mexico. And my dad looked at me and he said, "No, you're not going to do that. You need to get a job." And so I got my family on board eventually. He's like, "That's too heavy, too much work. You're not going to do it." And once they were on board, I just started testing things out at home. My grandmother came from Mexico with a visa, and she taught me. And then just learning how to make a product before we could start selling it. Then I started from home. I looked into cottage food laws. Obviously, what I was doing was very illegal. So, and then I just went on social media, different Facebook groups, local groups, and I just started posting that we were selling organic corn dough and organic tortillas, and people started buying them. I had a friend who helped me who asked me to help her kind of everything fall into place. She asked me to help her open up an LLC because I had done it before. And I said, sure. And she's like, how much should I pay you? And I said, you're opening up a small grocery store. I don't want payment. The only thing I ask for is for you to give me an opportunity to sell my product there. And so that's kind of how we, were able to get started.
So, Aaron.
So really, I started connecting with other freelancers and other copywriters. That's really how I got started because I didn't know how to get started, and many of us can feel that way many times. So it's always good to look for mentorship and to connect with people that are already doing what you want to do, and that was so helpful for me. Your network is as big as the people you connect with, and connecting is actually very easy. I created a LinkedIn page. I really set it up with, past experiences and, use keywords and like SEO, search engine optimization words that will really make me stand out to companies or recruiters that are looking for copywriters or editors. And really just connecting. I met with a lot of copywriters. They also gave me advice to build a portfolio. So if you want to land a job in like advertising or marketing, you have to have a portfolio of like your work and what you've done in the past, and that will help you land more opportunities. And that's how I got started.
I love that. For me, it was learning, so a lot of trial and error. I think for any individual here that's taking those first steps, don't be afraid, right, to make mistakes. We've all done them. Everyone here on the panel has made those mistakes. So don't bash yourself. Don't think that it's not going to work out if things don't go according to plan right away. Just be open to learn and to try new things. Learn from other people that know more than you do. And another big component for me was being able to showcase my craft and showcase what I'm capable of doing. So that meant that I had to do, not had to, but that I chose to do parties and events for free. And that was my way of putting myself out there and being able to show people that, hey, this is something that I know how to do. And that's where people could see that, hey, this guy knows a thing or two about music. So at times it might look like you're just kind of wasting your time, but I looked at it as an investment, right? Because I'm giving of my time knowing that it's gonna come back to me in a form of work or in a form of someone saying, hey, I have this event, would you DJ and how much would you charge me? And then from there, just kind of starting to play with the numbers. I would not charge too much because I didn't really have the equipment at the time. So I started off small and then slowly started to build up my repertoire. So with time came being able that having that ability to charge more. And as my colleagues here have mentioned today, the network and the relationship aspect became big. One of the things that I told myself that I wanted to do was get into the DJing, the nightclub scenes, and doing like different venues across Chicago. And that means going out and supporting other people that do the same craft as you, right? So don't be intimidated to speak with other people or to put yourself in front of other people that are better than you, right? Because as it was mentioned, your network is your net worth. So making sure that your network and the people that you surround yourself with and that you're learning from, make sure that they know more than you do in whatever craft that it is that you're looking to get into. And from there, just continuing to do my work through promoting myself, putting myself out there on social media. And it really does come back to word of mouth in my craft as a DJ. You do a good job, you go all out and you serve it, whether it's a party of 10 people or 100 people. In the case today where I'm at, I'm actually doing our annual conference here, and we have upwards of 3,000 people that are in attendance. And I'm here in Las Vegas now, so I'm gonna DJ an after party tonight at the MGM Grand. So this has been close to 10 years in the making, right? So it does come with time. It does come with your experience and your opportunity. So yeah, just continue to believe in yourself and continue to put yourself out there, and opportunities will present themselves.
Awesome. Thank you all for that. We are running a little close on time, so I'm going to do 2 more questions for 2 of you. If we can keep them kind of short, because I do want to ask 1 more question for everyone. And then we're going to go into the scholar questions that we already have in the Q&A session. So if we could keep these these couple of questions a little bit more brief. So for Claudia and Alexandra, what services or resources help you in creating your business or freelancing career? Alexandra, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So I think definitely a lot when I was doing searching, just the internet, right, became my best friend when searching on how to file or any of those things. But there are also a lot of organizations that help me. And I know Perrin mentioned mentorship, and I actually work with one organization that's called SCORE, and they actually pair you up with a mentor. And that was super helpful for me because they're themselves either entrepreneurs or they're experts in a specific field. So I got a mentor, and to me, that was a life-changing experience because they were able to kind of guide me, and I was able to get feedback, right? Because sometimes we're so into whatever our focus is, so we're not seeing the other things, the outer picture. So for me, that was super helpful to just get some feedback and continue learning, as other colleagues have stated. And yeah, continue partnering with other people who are doing similar things to me. That was definitely a big resources. I'll drop the links on the chat for the resources that I used.
Amazing. Thank you. Claudia.
So for me, Google, I think that Google is probably my #1 thing where I go to from learning or figuring out lots of things. I majored in public administration, so one of the things that I learned was that public governments make it very easy for people in this country to be able to do things on their own. It should be very user-friendly for you to be able to file for permits and things like that. So just Googling like your local county and state and Florida laws, and just trying to figure out how to obviously open up a corporation or LLC. You would probably have to decide what to do on your own, but it's pretty easy to. So for Florida, you would go on sunbiz.org and just read. Take the time to read everything. It's step by step, explains to you how to do it. You should be able to do it yourself. Obviously, there's other companies out there that will file for you. And calling. I had to kind of open up like a restaurant license. So I'd have to call the local hotels and restaurants and ask them like, what do I need to do? And I'd email them, and everyone is pretty open and willing to answer all questions. So I would just say specifically don't get lost in Google, but try to like go directly to the source that will help where you have to file, and just ask your questions there.
And for Karen and Brian, how do you market your business to expand your client base and secure new clients?
Yeah, so honestly, word of mouth. If you built really good relationships, if you executed good work, it's going to allow like people to literally put your name out and recommend you to other people. That's the best way to do it.
Ditto. I mean, yeah, that's really what it comes down to. I want to encourage everyone that we are in a time where there are so many tools, so many platforms for you to promote yourself. If you are providing a product, you have Etsy, you have Facebook Market, you have Instagram, right? You're doing services. My go-to is Instagram, and I recently actually started promoting more of my DJ work on LinkedIn. And so it's interesting because I haven't come across anyone that is using the LinkedIn profile, but I've had people reach out to me from the corporate sector, from different places, to do weddings, to do conferences, to do events, so become creative, keep an eye out for different places, but it really does come down to the work that you do and how good you do it, and building those relationships. Make sure that you're authentic, do a follow-up with the person. If you sold something, if you did a work, hey, just thank you again for that. Show that appreciation, because those little things go a long way with people. So make sure that you take that extra initiative, whether it's a thank you card. One of the things that stood out to me from a place that I buy my DJ equipment, it's called Sweetwater. And I remember when I first purchased from them, I purchased from different places, right? Amazon, all these things. But just a quick example, when I got my product from them, it was a thank you card with my name, and they gave me a bag of candy, and the person called me and they were like, hey, thank you so much for purchasing from us. If you have any questions, please let me know. And they give me quarterly check-ins. Like, go above and beyond, and make yourself stand out, because those details do make a difference.
Awesome, thank you all. So again, I want to give at least 10 minutes for the students' Q&As. But really quickly, I can't get away without asking you all this question. So this is for everyone, but if we could keep it to like 30 seconds to a minute, so that we can get to these other questions. Obviously, I can't walk away without asking you, what advice would you give to other Dream.Us scholars and alum who are wanting to become entrepreneurs and start their own businesses? So let's go right back to Alexandra, and please let us know.
I think Brian already mentioned this, but you got to believe in yourself and being willing to invest in you and whatever your vision is. Absolutely. And share your vision with others, right? Talk it through, because that's going to help you fine tune it even more. That helped me so much. So please continue sharing your vision with those who are close to you, who love you, and will continue cheering you on, because that will definitely help you, and keep building your network as well, because that was something that definitely led me to this path. So please believe in yourself and keep pushing forward.
Claudia.
I would just say, don't focus too much on like where you want to kind of end up at, because 3 years ago, I wouldn't be where I'm at if I focused on, I need to, lease this huge building. I started with baby steps. Like, I started buying a little hand crank mill and a little bag of corn. And I took baby steps to get to where I'm at. So I would just focus on like, what's the next step? Don't focus on like, I have to get here and how am I going to get here? I would kind of get out of your head and try to like focus on little things. The baby steps will take you there.
Erin.
I would say find like what you're really passionate about, because there's a reason why you're passionate about that. It's connected to your purpose. And remember that you're not alone. Ask for help, ask questions, connect with people, find a mentor. It's very essential to do that. Even if you want to connect with me after this, like, I'm willing to connect. So please feel free to connect on LinkedIn. My name is Karen Savillon on LinkedIn as well.
For me, stay the course, right? Going back to that question that came from one of the alums or students that's on here, my parents didn't approve of my DJing. They're very conservative. And so for me, regardless of what people tell you, stay the course. If it's something that you truly want to do, sometimes your friends and family won't be on board. Sometimes they might be your worst critics. That's okay. Stay the course, believe in yourself, do what you have to do. Put your money to work. So as you get that money, reinvest it into yourself, reinvest it into your business. Make sure that you're constantly moving, keep that money going. Don't just have it stagnant. Put it into different accounts, or just reinvest it into your business. Be creative, like I mentioned. Make sure that you're doing different things, try different avenues, try to do things that make your business stand out. And go above and beyond. 10 years ago, I started off doing small house parties, and then today I almost had the opportunity to play the walk-on music for the president, but he got COVID. So but last year I got to play for Vice President Kamala Harris. So again, just and as I was mentioned, don't focus on where you're at, but put a vision board for yourself, look at where you want to be, and just continue to work towards it every day. Do baby steps.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Why don't we dive into some of our student questions? And this is not all of you have to answer each of these questions, so feel free to chime in if you have a particular need or a specific response that you want to give to the question. So the first one is kind of generic. So what types of documents do you have to file for your business or being able to work in the first place? Like, do you use an I-10 with a W-9 form? And I can actually chime in a little bit on that. So in order to start your own business or work as an independent contractor or freelancer, you can do so with either a social security number or an I-10 number. So if you don't have a social security number, you can file for an I-10 and use that in place of the social security number on your W-9 forms when you are looking to file payment paperwork or establishing your business paperwork. And I think those are sort of the foundational documents that you would need in order to go into this type of work.
I also want to add, I employ other subcontractors at my company. And so usually what they need is just an I-10 and they fill out a W-9 form. But me as an employer, I applied for a special, it's called an FEIN number, a Federal Employer Identification Number. And so whenever I do work with other companies, I provide them also a W-9 with my federal identification number under my business name. So it could either be under your personal I-10 if you're a sole proprietor, or it could be done under your LLC under the business name and your EIN.
Thank you.
I'd like to chime in. I'd like to chime in really, really quick, Chris, and just encourage folks that don't feel like you have to do that right away to start. Because for me, when I first started it, I didn't really know how to navigate that, nor was I making the money to be able to pay for that. So if for the beginning, if all you're doing is just kind of getting paid what we call under the table, totally fine with that. But I definitely encourage individuals, when you get to that point where you do have your money flowing, get into that, because then that benefits you in the long run, so that when you're looking to buy a house, that goes towards your income. So definitely want to encourage that, but don't feel stressed out to feel like you need to have that right away if you're just starting.
Thank you so much, Brian and Kalia, for that. I also see that my colleague Sadhana Singh put in a link to our website for how scholars can apply for their I-10s or EANs. So make sure you go to the website to collect that information if you want to look into getting it. I'm not sure if the next question applies for folks, but if any of your businesses started off as LLC, how did you move to Corp if you are now running as a corporation? So I'm not sure if any of you sort of fit that.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I currently have an LLC, but for tax purposes, so LLC is with the state, and for tax purposes, I'm taxed as an S corporation, and that's directly with the IRS. And so it's just stuff that I talked about with my accountant, just so that we don't get taxed as much as a C Corp or an individual.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So aside from the I-10, is there any paperwork that I need to have handy to start a small business?
I think if you have that, if you have that, right, you use it to start, right? Don't feel limited by the fact that you just have an I-10. Like I mentioned earlier, if for the time being you're looking to figure things out, don't feel like you need to have it all figured out. But definitely for individuals who don't have DACA, who don't have documentation, I would strongly encourage you to use it, because now what you're doing is you're starting to build that paper trail, right? So you want to build that paper trail so that you show the government that, hey, I am an individual that pays my dues, that I am contributing, to society. So if an I-10 is all you have, start there. So don't feel like you need to have everything else figured out. It'll come in time, but definitely find yourself a good tax person that can help you navigate that, so that you can start building that paper trail.
Thank you so much. Currently, I run a business of barbering at home while attending school. I don't make enough to file for taxes. but when I get to that point, should I file for an LLC? I do think that at a point where you do end up making enough money, you definitely want to make sure that you have your I-10 and that you are filing taxes so that you are not, so that you are sort of creating, again, sort of what Brian says, that paper trail and start to build that sort of record for yourself. I'm not sure about the exact point where you would want to create your LLC. I think that's more of a personal journey in terms of where you feel you are at the stage of creating your own business. And if you have sort of all those pieces together, your budget plan and your idea, your like all of that, I think all of that sort of factors in, and it's not just a monetary sort of decision that you need to make. And so I think there's a little bit more there that you probably want to sort of explore when filing for your LLC. Anyone wants to add to that, or should I move to the next question? No? Awesome. How did you get hired when you first started working if you had no experience?
Yeah, I could speak on that. I actually started like volunteering. There was for example, a lady at my church that she has a magazine. So I just started volunteering with her, and then I ended up doing my internship with her. So I did some copywriting and editing. So volunteer, offer your services to volunteer, and build your portfolio.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes, 100%. Do that. Volunteer. People know people. Do a good job, put yourself out there. Again, I want to continue to hone in on that. That's also a great way of networking. So volunteer, look for internships, apprenticeships, definitely, yes.
Awesome. I know starting your own business comes with some responsibility, but how do you handle the pressure, or also how do you react when people or businesses deny you an opportunity?
I'd say for me, we do a lot of business to business sales and we get no's all the time. So we really don't really let that stop us. We just keep moving on to the next business, and someone eventually is going to want to work with us. So I wouldn't focus too much on the losses. I just focus on just like they said previously, staying your course, and don't let that bring you down, because someone's going to understand you, someone's going to need your business, someone is going to like or understand what you're offering. So yeah, you're gonna get lots of no's in this life. You just got to learn how to get through them and just move on to the next one. And don't be shy. We only live once, so I mean, there's there's nothing much that that can stop you once you get past the idea that usually people are going to say no to you. You just got to get one yes.
And I just add regarding the pressure, starting your business, freelancing, it could be a lot. So it could be very stressful. So always leaning into your support system, because it can get really heavy and stressful at times. And also for me, it has always been a challenge to find a balance, not be a workaholic and not focus just on the business. So always try to find time for yourself to keep your mental and physical well-being well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It looks like we are just about time. It is 6:59. I think we've basically answered most of the questions. We might have missed one or two, so I apologize about that. But I want to thank again all of our panelists for doing an amazing job of sharing your stories, sharing some guidance for all of our scholars. I know it really resonates and really provides them some hope and some guidance on how to pursue their own entrepreneurship or freelancing experiences. So thank you all so much. You are an inspiration, and we are so proud to have you all as Dream.Us alumni. And I want to also let all the folks at home know this session was recorded, and we will be posting it on our YouTube page if you want to reference it at a later point within the next few days, but definitely within the week. Thank you all so much, and make sure you continue to attend the rest of our Summer Career Series. We have a session tomorrow on starting your own business, and then we're kicking it off again next week. So make sure you're tuning in. Thank you all so much. Ciao.
Thank you, Chris. Bye, everyone.
Thank
Bye,
you,
thanks
everyone.
so much.
Bye, everybody.